Let's be real, some motorcycle trends make all of us look bad. Doesn't matter how good your bike is, if you're doing these things, you're part of the problem. I've been riding long enough to know what's cool, what's useful, and what's just plain dumb. This isn't gatekeeping, this is reality. Here are 14 biker trends that need to stop right now. Number 14. Wearing fashion instead of protection. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look good on a motorcycle, but there's a big difference between style and straight-up stupidity. Some riders head out wearing paper-thin leather jackets that wouldn't stop a sneeze, torn-up jeans with zero abrasion resistance, and, worst of all, sneakers instead of real boots. Sure, they might get some attention at the gas station, but all of that falls apart the moment the bike hits the pavement. Let's make this real. If you lay down your motorcycle at 45 miles per hour, your clothes are your only shield between your body and the road. Now imagine what happens to your legs in designer jeans and sneakers. You'll be lucky if you walk again, let alone ride. And believe me, there's nothing cool about skin grafts and bandages. Here's the kicker. There are now plenty of motorcycle gear brands making protective clothing that looks just as good as it performs. You don't need to dress like you're in a movie stunt to be taken seriously. A properly armored jacket, reinforced riding jeans, and real riding boots will do the trick. And they'll still turn heads just for the right reasons. So before you roll out with your fashion statement, ask yourself this: do I want to look good on the ride or after the ride? Because the hospital gown isn't a great look, no matter how confident you are. Now, if you thought bad fashion was risky, wait until you see what some riders do to a cold engine before it even warms up. Number 13. Revving a cold engine like a maniac. This one's a classic rookie move that makes seasoned riders cringe. You fire up your bike, and without giving it a second to breathe, you're twisting the throttle like you're at the starting line of a drag race. That loud V-twin growl might sound tough, but what you're really doing is grinding your engine down before the oils even had a chance to circulate. Engines need heat, not race heat, just operating temperature. Oil gets thick when it's cold, and until it warms up and flows through every nook and cranny of that power plant, your moving parts are practically chewing each other up. Think of it like this. Would you sprint a marathon the moment you rolled out of bed? No warm-up, no stretch, no prep? Of course not. So why would you do it to your bike? This habit doesn't just shorten engine life, it signals to every other rider that you don't know what you're doing. If you want to show off your exhaust note, wait until the engine's warm and the bike's actually moving. You'll still get the sound, and your motorcycle will thank you for it with years of extra life. A good rider knows how to treat a machine with respect. Let the bike idle for a minute. Let the oil do its job. Then roll out easy and give it time to wake up. Real power comes with patience, not high-rev theatrics at 7 in the morning. But speaking of overheating, let's talk about loud pipes, louder regrets, and one of the most ironic trends in modern motorcycling. Number 12. Complaining about the loud exhaust you bought. Now this one's just hilarious, and all too common. A guy spends a small fortune on the loudest exhaust system he can find. Straight pipes, no baffles, zero compromise. He bolts it on, fires it up, and for the first 2 weeks he's grinning ear to ear. Every red light is a concert. Every tunnel becomes his private stadium. Then reality hits. He starts getting tickets. His neighbors start complaining. His own ears are ringing after short rides. Suddenly, the thunderous roar that used to sound like freedom now feels like a migraine on wheels. And what does he do? He complains loudly. Here's the truth. If you bought a pipe that could set off every car alarm on the block, you knew exactly what you were doing. You weren't looking for performance, you were looking for attention. And now that attention has become a problem. Now don't get it twisted. There's nothing wrong with upgrading your exhaust. A good V-twin growl is one of the best parts of riding, but there's a difference between a performance system with character and a rolling sound grenade that wakes up babies and ruins Sunday mornings. You can still sound mean without blowing out your own eardrums, so if you're thinking about adding a loud pipe, ask yourself if you're ready to live with it. And if you already did it, maybe dial it back before you become that guy in every riding group. And while we're buying regrets, this next trend hits both the wallet and the ego hard. And it's probably sitting in your garage right now. We did the digging, forums, fails, and all the stuff riders won't say out loud. Now you've got the shortcut. If that made your ride smoother, hit subscribe and keep it rolling. Number 11. Buying a dream bike, then never riding it. There's nothing wrong with chasing the dream. Every rider deserves a machine they're proud of. But what happens when that dream bike turns into garage art? We're talking about the guys who drop $30,000 or more on a brand new road, Glide CVO, or even a fully loaded Ultra Limited, and then barely ride it. 100 miles here, a Sunday cruise there, and the rest of the year, it just sits under a custom-fitted cover like a showroom display, polished weekly but barely turned over. These bikes aren't meant to be stared at. They're meant to be ridden, pushed, and broken in. A real bike should have a few bugs on the windshield, a little dirt on the pipes, and stories baked into the seat. Instead, some owners treat them like trophies, perfectly polished, barely touched, and surrounded by cleaning products in the garage. It's like buying a thoroughbred just to admire the saddle. Here's the kicker. Most of these bikes pack some serious muscle. That Ultra Limited comes with a Milwaukee 8V twin engine producing 87 horsepower and 107 pound-feet of torque. It displaces 1,868 cubic centimeters of raw touring power. But when you let that kind of engineering sit for months on end, you're not preserving it, you're wasting it. Riding a big twin isn't just about the machine, it's about the miles, the weather, the road feel, and the moments that come with it. So if you've got a high-dollar Harley collecting dust, maybe it's time to remember why you bought it in the first place. The road's still waiting. Let's go from forgotten bikes to unforgettable mistakes in traffic. Number 10. Wearing club cuts you didn't earn. This one isn't just dumb, it's disrespectful. Some riders out there are throwing on fake motorcycle club patches, wearing replica vests they bought online, and rolling into bike nights pretending they're something they're not. Let's make it clear, club colors are not a costume. You don't dress the part when it comes to motorcycle clubs, and if you try, you're playing with fire. Those patches represent something real: brotherhood, loyalty, and time earned on the road. They're not for sale, and they're definitely not something you stitch onto a vest just to look tough or feel included. We've seen guys walk into bars or rallies wearing back patches they didn't earn and get called out right on the spot. And trust us, that's not a conversation you want to have, especially when real members are watching. Most of the time, these fake cuts are worn by people who don't even ride much. They want the look, but not the miles. They want respect, but not sacrifice. They crave the image, not the lifestyle. That's not how it works in the real biker world. You don't need a patch to be a real rider. What you need is a bike, a love for the road, and the character to show up as yourself, not as someone else. Real respect doesn't come from what you wear. It comes from how you ride, how you treat others, and how honest you are with yourself. But if pretending to be someone you're not is the issue, the next trend is even worse. Number 9. Being a social media biker. The guy with the shiny bike parked perfectly in front of a mural, leather jacket unzipped just enough to show off the branded t-shirt, helmet tilted at just the right angle. He's got 100 pictures on Instagram, maybe a few slow-motion reels walking toward his bike like he's in a movie trailer. Everything is filtered, staged, and captioned like it's part of a marketing campaign. But here's the thing, you'll never actually see him riding. Not in traffic, not on the highway, and definitely not out on the twisties. For some folks, the motorcycle is just a photo prop. It's not about the ride, the journey, or the community. It's about the likes, the hashtags, and the staged lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with taking pride in your bike and posting pictures. That's part of the fun. But when your entire riding life lives on the internet and not on the asphalt, something's gone sideways. And real riders can tell the difference instantly. Real riding is messy. If your boots are always clean and your odometer still says under 1,000 after 2 years, you might want to spend more time in the saddle and less time setting up your next photo shoot. The truth is, no real rider is impressed by a selfie. They're impressed by miles, scars, and stories. So if you want to be part of the culture, show up on the road, not just in someone's feed. Now let's talk about a trend that takes bad judgment to a whole new level when you add 10 other riders to the mix. Number 8. Harley Davidson group riders, turning every ride into a stunt show. Riding in a group can be one of the best parts of being on two wheels. The sound of V-twins rumbling in unison, the synchronized turns, the camaraderie, it's unbeatable when done right. You're sharing the road, the rhythm, and the ride, but not every group ride stays smooth and safe. Some turn into full-blown stunt parades, and that's where things go off the rails. You know the type. Guys swerving left and right in the lane like they're trying to impress someone. Tailgating so close it's one panic break away from a disaster. Rev battles between bikes just to see who can be louder. Sudden lane changes with no signals. And then there's always that one rider who thinks it's the perfect moment to pop a wheelie in the middle of traffic. None of that is riding. It's a circus act on public roads. And it's not just dangerous, it's selfish. One wrong move from the showboater and suddenly the whole group is slamming on the brakes, dodging a wreck. People get hurt, bikes get dropped. What was supposed to be a relaxing cruise turns into chaos. And worse, it gives every rider on the road a bad name. Riding in formation takes discipline. You hold your line. You keep your spacing. You ride like you've got each other's backs. Because the road doesn't care about your ego, it only respects skill and respect. So if you're hitting the road with a crew, ride like someone's watching. Because they are. And they're not impressed with wheelies or swerving. They're impressed with control, with respect, with the way you ride together. And if you thought that was wild, wait until you hear what some riders do the second they roll into a parking lot. Number 7. Treating parking lots like racetracks. There's dumb, there's reckless, and then there's ripping through a parking lot on a motorcycle like it's your personal racetrack. We've all seen that guy, revving hard, swerving between parked cars, blasting through narrow lanes like he's in a championship race. But here's the truth, nobody's impressed. Not the shoppers, not the workers, and definitely not the other riders. In fact, most folks are thinking the same thing. This guy's a danger to everyone around him. Parking lots are some of the most unpredictable places a biker can be. Between cars backing out, distracted pedestrians with shopping carts, and random obstacles popping up out of nowhere, it only takes one split-second mistake to cause serious damage. And at low speeds, that damage is usually avoidable if you're riding smart. But when you treat a grocery store lot like it's a drag strip, you're turning a casual ride into a crash waiting to happen. Even worse, a lot of these parking lot racers don't realize how bad they are at slow speed control. If you can't handle your bike at 5 miles per hour, you shouldn't be flying through tight rows at 30. Real riding skill shows in control, not chaos. A smooth, slow maneuver through a tight space? That's impressive. Doing donuts around shopping carts? Not so much. So the next time you're tempted to twist the throttle in a parking lot, don't. Save the speed for the open road or the track. You'll look like a better rider for it, and you'll avoid making a scene that could put you or someone else on the pavement. And speaking of parking lots, some riders mess up before they even turn the key off. Number 6. Parking like you own the planet. There's a kind of parking that makes everyone in the lot roll their eyes. You know the type. One bike, smack in the middle of 3 spaces, or parked sideways across a full motorcycle row, or wedged into some awkward spot where no one else can get in or out. It's the kind of move that says, "Look at me," but all it really does is scream entitlement and zero self-awareness. Yes, motorcycles are smaller than cars. Yes, we can fit in tighter spaces, but that doesn't mean we should park like we're above the rules. Respecting shared space is part of being a real rider. When one person takes up more room than they need, it makes life harder for everyone else, especially when other bikers are circling the lot looking for a spot. And let's be honest, no one thinks you're cool for blocking off half a lane. They think you're the reason bikers get a bad rap, and they're not wrong. Even worse, bad parking isn't just annoying, it can be unsafe. Poorly parked bikes can block sight lines, restrict movement, or even get knocked over in tight quarters. It's one thing to park confidently. It's another to park like the world revolves around your bike. So take the extra second, line up properly. Think about the riders coming in after you. You'll earn more respect by parking with precision than by hogging the whole lane. But it's not just where you park, it's how you act when you stop. Number 5. Revving at every stoplight like you're on a grid. There's always that one rider. You hear them before you see them. The light turns red, traffic comes to a halt, and instead of sitting quietly like everyone else, they twist the throttle like they're on the starting line at the Daytona 200. The whole intersection echoes with that aggressive roar, drawing glances from nearby drivers, eye rolls from pedestrians, and secondhand embarrassment from other bikers. Here's the reality. Nobody is impressed. Not the soccer mom in the minivan, not the old man in the Buick, and not the seasoned rider sitting 2 lanes over who actually knows how to control his bike. This isn't a drag strip, it's a stoplight. Revving your bike like a maniac doesn't make you look cool. It makes you look like someone who just got their learner's permit and thinks loud pipes make up for lack of experience. If you've got a nice exhaust note, great. Let people hear it when you roll on the throttle on a long stretch of highway, not while sitting still next to a school zone. A quality engine speaks for itself. You don't need to scream over everyone to be noticed. And while we're at it, revving that engine over and over in neutral doesn't do your motor any favors either. It's unnecessary wear and tear, and in some cases, it can even mess with your fuel mapping or exhaust valves. So next time you roll up to a red light, leave the noise at home. You're not on a MotoGP grid, you're sitting behind a red light with a Starbucks on the corner. Ride with confidence, not volume. Now, if you thought noise was bad, wait until you see what some riders wear when they're clearly on the wrong kind of bike. Number 4. Dressing like a racer on the wrong bike. You've seen the look. A full leather race suit, elbow sliders, knee pucks, maybe even a tinted visor down low. Only to realize the guy is sitting on a fat Bob, a Road King, or some other low-slung cruiser that weighs close to 800 pounds. That's not track ready. That's Sunday ride with extra chrome. Unless you're pulling into pit lane at Laguna Seca, dressing like a MotoGP pro while riding a boulevard cruiser just makes you look ridiculous. The suit costs more than the tires, the boots squeak louder than the exhaust, and the whole setup screams trying too hard. Cruisers are built for relaxed, comfortable riding, not aggressive track stances or knee-down cornering. When you throw on full racing leathers on a bike that tops out at a lean angle of 25 degrees, you're not fooling anybody. Not only does it look out of place, but it also restricts your movement and comfort on a bike that's meant to be enjoyed laid back, not leaned over. If you're on a sport bike and heading for a day of aggressive riding, sure, suit up. But if you're cruising Main Street on a Softail or a V-Rod, maybe skip the full race replica look. There are plenty of stylish, protective gear options out there that match cruiser culture and offer real safety without the cartoon cosplay. At the end of the day, dressing like a racer doesn't make your bike handle like one. Gear up smart, ride what you ride, and save the knee sliders for the track, not the diner parking lot. But if the gear doesn't match the bike, sometimes the skill doesn't match either, and that's where things get messy. Number 3. Trying to corner like Valentino Rossi on a cruiser. There's no easy way to say this, but too many riders are out here treating big cruisers like they're sport bikes. We've all seen the guy. He's leaned over way too far, sparks flying from his floorboards, fighting to stay upright on a tight curve. His bike was never meant to take like that. He thinks he looks like Valentino Rossi on a track day, but he's wobbling through turns like he's about to hit the pavement. That is not skill. That is denial wrapped in misplaced confidence and a serious misunderstanding of physics. Here's the reality. Cruisers and touring bikes are designed for stability, comfort, and smooth highway performance, not carving up corners at full lean. When you're throwing a 900-pound road glide into a corner like it's a 600-pound supersport, you're not pushing limits. You're asking for a hospital bill. And while the Milwaukee 8 engine might give you torque for days, no amount of low-end grunt will save you if you're dragging metal through every curve. Know your bike's geometry, know its limits, and most importantly, ride with respect for what your machine was built to do. You don't need to scrape floorboards to prove anything. Real riders ride smart, not reckless. Keep it smooth, controlled, and clean through the turns. That's what actually impresses experienced riders. Take pride in precision, not panic. But for some riders, it's not what they wear or how they ride, it's how they smell. Number 2. Wearing the same dirty gear for years. Let's talk about hygiene. And no, this isn't a joke. There's always that one guy on a ride who peels off his helmet and releases a cloud of stink that could knock over a horse. Same crusty leather jacket from 2012. Same moldy gloves. Same helmet liner that hasn't seen a wash since Obama was in office. Look, man, your gear might be legendary, but if it smells like a high school locker room, it's time to clean it. There's no badge of honor in smelling like roadkill. It's not gritty, it's gross. Sweat, dirt, rain, road grime, it all builds up. And over time, that buildup doesn't just make you smell bad, it starts breaking down the materials that are supposed to protect you. Your once proud gear becomes brittle, greasy, and less effective. If you care about your safety, keeping your gear clean is just part of the deal. No one's asking for cologne, but if your jacket can walk itself to the bike, it's a problem. Most modern helmets have removable liners. Toss those in the wash every now and then. Your jacket? Hit it with some leather cleaner or throw your textile in the wash if it's compatible. Gloves? Air them out, wash them if possible. You'll feel better, ride more comfortably, and your buddies will thank you. And finally, one trend that's both risky and absolutely ridiculous. Number 1. Riding one-handed, like you're in a movie. Let's not sugarcoat it. Riding one-handed for no reason is just plain dumb. You've seen the guy. He's rolling down the street with his left hand hanging loose, maybe sipping on a coffee, checking his phone, or worse, filming himself like he's starring in a Hollywood motorcycle chase. And sure, to someone who's never thrown a leg over a saddle, it might look cool, but for actual riders who understand what can happen in one bad second, it just looks reckless. Here's the deal. 2 hands on the bars isn't a suggestion. It's the baseline for riding safely. You never know when a distracted driver's going to swerve, when gravel's going to appear out of nowhere, or when that light up ahead is going to flip red. And when that moment comes, one hand isn't going to cut it. Some riders try to play it off like they're just relaxing or in control, but the truth is, they're gambling with their face and their bike. It's not confidence, it's carelessness. And don't even get us started on those trying to take selfies mid-ride. If you need to prove to the internet that you ride, maybe ride a little more and film a little less. Bikes are not props. They're not accessories for social media clout. They're machines that demand attention and respect every second you're in the saddle. So unless you're signaling, adjusting your mirror, or doing something quick and necessary, keep both hands where they belong, on the bars. Because nothing says amateur quite like wiping out on asphalt while trying to look like a movie star. Now it's your turn. What's the dumbest biker trend you've seen lately? Drop it in the comments. And if this hits home, smash that like button, subscribe for more honest riding videos, and as always, ride safe, ride smart, and keep the rubber side down.